What if you could make a sculpture of your cat?
Like this. Today I'll show you how to make one of your own.
All you need is a few photos of your pet and some clay.
I'll be sculpting my sister's cats, and I'll be using an air-dry clay called cold porcelain, but you can use any clay you like.
So, let's get started.
First, gather as many photos of your cat as you can and put them in a folder on your computer or phone. Good references are essential. Go to Google's Gemini, select Create Image, and upload at least one photo of your pet. Then, type the prompts you see on screen to generate images of your pet from different angles. I'll be sculpting these two cats in a seated position, so if you want your pet in a different pose, simply adjust the prompts. Once you have all the generated images and reference photos organized in one folder, you're ready to start sculpting. Start by building the basic form using the AI-generated images as reference. Keep adding layers of clay until you achieve a simple base shape like these. Take your time and be patient. The number of layers you'll need depends on the size of the sculpture. Before the outer layers fully harden, insert a piece of wire like this. You'll see why in a moment. To save material, you can use aluminum foil, a styrofoam, or leftover clay as filler. Now here's a trick that will make your proportions much more accurate. Print your AI images at the same size as your sculpture. It makes comparing shapes much easier as you work. This next step is key if you want your sculpture to feel more lifelike. Use a clay color that matches your cat's eyes. To dye cold porcelain, add a small amount of paint and knead it until the color is fully blended. Once you have the right color, roll 2 small balls and let them harden completely. Now comes the part that brings them to life. Paint the iris using lighter tones, then add the pupil in black. To finish, apply a layer of translucent resin to give the eyes a realistic shine. From this point on, switching to clay that matches your cat's fur will make everything easier. It might not seem important now, but it will save you time when painting later. I prepared these pieces of clay the same way by adding color with oil paint. Remember the wire? That's what gives the front legs their structure. For the back legs, form a shape like this and attach it to the base of the sculpture. Before refining the details, secure the eyes in place using a bit more clay. Then, build the eyelids and start defining the rest of the face. Now it's all about observation. Take a close look at your references and start adjusting the form, adding clay wherever it's needed. If you can, sculpt with your cat nearby. Pay close attention to their anatomy, proportions, and unique features and try to capture what you see in your sculpture. Start creating the fur texture while the outer layers are still soft and use sculpting tools like these. For the paws, use a tool like this to define the shape, and for the claws, simply add small pieces of clay and shape them like this. The tail is one of the simplest parts. Roll a piece of clay into a curved, worm-like shape. Once it hardens, add more layers to build up the fur. Keep building up the fur by refining the texture with your tools. Here's a small trick. Add a bit of water to soften the texture and make it look more natural. Right now, these don't look like cats at all. They look more like little aliens. But that's completely normal, and it's about to change with the next steps. First, place 2 cone-shaped pieces of clay on top of the head. Use your fingers to shape them, focusing on the inner curve of the ear as if you're sculpting the space inside it. These will act as molds for the final shape. Once they've fully hardened, flatten some pink clay and place it over the back of each mold. Press it gently so it takes on that shape as it dries. After the clay has hardened, remove both the molds and the pink clay. Then trim the excess with scissors to clean up the edges. And just like that, the ears are done. If it looks like a monkey at this point, that's normal. Now let's start bringing the face together. Start with the mouth. flatten 2 small pieces of clay and place them in position. For the nose, use a bit of pink clay and refine the shape with your tools. While the clay is still soft, go back in with your tools and start building the fur texture on the head. Now it finally begins to look like a real cat. This is where things start to come together. My sister wanted her cats to have their collars, so I flattened some clay, then used a ruler and a stylus to cut it into thin strips. Then I wrapped the strips around the necks. I'm doing this now so I can build the fur texture around it later. Now we're entering the most satisfying part of the process. From this point on, you're working on the final layers. Every time you add clay, refine it right away by texturing the surface to match the fur. At this stage, observation becomes even more important. Take a close look at your cat and compare it to your sculpture. You'll start noticing details you might have missed before. Then start filling in any areas that need more clay. Hold on. If you look closely, you'll notice the female cat's eyes ended up a bit too small and dark.
This made me change my mind.
Now I think making the eyes during this stage is a much better idea and less risky. And this is a good reminder. Sculpting is an iterative process. You learn through trial and error. So if your sculpture doesn't look quite right, don't rush it. Take a step back, figure out what feels off, and adjust the shape by adding or removing material. And if you ever add too much clay in the wrong area, don't worry, that's easy to fix. You can use a rotary tool, like a Dremel, to remove hardened material with precision. It comes with different tips. I use this one. By the way, when you apply the final layer of clay to these areas of the face, use a toothpick to make tiny holes. Can you guess what they're for? You'll see in a moment. Also, if you notice small surface imperfections like these, lightly sand them down. Now it's time to move on to painting, so have your acrylic paints and synthetic brushes ready. Because we already used clay that matches the fur, we won't need many layers of paint. During the sculpting stage, it's best to work with the lighter base colors of the fur. For example, I used white and gray for the male cat and white and orange for the female. Now with paint, we can start adding darker tones and refining the details. From here on, everything starts to look more and more realistic. To finish things off, take an old synthetic brush and some white glue. Pull out 3 to 5 bristles and glue them together. These will be the cat's whiskers. Once they're dry, attach them using super glue by inserting the base into the holes we made earlier. You can also use a few bristles to add fine hairs inside the ears. Then paint them with white acrylic to finish the look. And that's how you sculpt a realistic cat with clay. If you'd like to see a tutorial on how to sculpt dogs, let me know. And if you want to keep learning, check out this one.